Hi guys, welcome back to another video. It's your girl Somi here again. If this is your first time, thank you so much for clicking and I hope you consider subscribing. Join the family. If you're an OG, thank you so much for always coming back and I hope you have subscribed because I know I get it, some people forget to subscribe while watching videos. So if you haven't, please click the subscribe button down below. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the things that I've learned working in Canada over the past year. If you know this channel well, you know that I've been in Canada for a year and 2 months now, and I started working a month after arriving, so I've been working for a year and a month. Okay, so it's been quite a while and I've learned quite a few things, so I'm excited to share with you guys some things that I've learned. There's so many, I can't say all of them in this video, so I will stick to just a few things. So if that's something you're interested in knowing, keep on watching. Guys, let's dive right into this video. The very first thing on the list is mental health leave. Yeah, like who knew? Obviously, like coming to Canada, I realized that there's something called mental health leave and you can take that leave whenever you feel stressed, okay? Because we as humans, we've had past traumatic experiences, or we're dealing with personal issues, or even the current world issues. There's so many things happening right now around the world, and as humans we absorb these things unknowingly sometimes. So you just find out, yo, I need a break, like I'm actually exhausted at this point. And if you need a break, just so you don't break down or get to a point of burnout, you can take a mental health leave. Like, it's a thing. You can literally talk to your boss and say, hey, I need a break right now so I don't have a mental breakdown, okay? And with that, I'm excited to announce the sponsors of this video, BetterHelp. Yeah, H-E-L-P. They're here to help you. I remember when I first arrived in Canada a year ago, the first 2 weeks of being in Canada was really intense for me. I felt so much pressure adjusting to a new life, like feeling like, yo, I have to accomplish things now because I'm in this new country and so much is expected of me. Like my first 2 weeks in Canada, they weren't very blissful, to be honest. Like that's a whole other story for another day. So imagine if I knew about BetterHelp then, I could have, you know, used them. Being in quarantine for 2 weeks didn't help as well. So with BetterHelp, you have access to over 20,000 therapists in an online environment, the comfort of your home. You meet up with your therapist via video or phone conference. Obviously, the first step you need to do is to fill out a questionnaire, either on the app on your phone or you can use the website. Fill out a questionnaire and they match you with the best therapist that suits your needs, whether you're religious, you're a spiritual person, or you're in the LGBTQ plus community. They match you with a therapist that best suits you. And guess what? You can always switch up if you're not particularly comfortable or satisfied with a therapist that you're matched with. You can request for a change as many times as possible till you meet your match, okay? So if you are ever feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed by anything at all in life, definitely go to BetterHelp for help. Hit the link in my description for 10% off your first month. So the second thing on the list is Statutory Holidays. So these are days like Christmas, New Year's, Canada Day. You know, there's so many. I'll put a list up here, but for BC, every province is different. Of course, there are some similarities in the statutory holidays, but it differs from province to province. So I'll put the one for BC since I'm in BC, okay? So these holidays, you get extra pay. Why do you think people want to work on Christmas Day or on New Year's Day? Because there's extra pay on those days and it's called stat pay, okay? That's statutory pay. Basically, you get a time and a half. So let me explain that a little bit, right? So say for example, you get paid $20 per hour. If you work on a statutory holiday, like Christmas, for example, you get paid $20 times 1.5. That's the reason why it's called a time and a half. So 20 times 1.5 is what? $30. Okay, so that means you're going to get paid $30 per hour on that day. Instead of getting $20, you're getting $30. That's the benefit of working on a stat holiday. So like, I always look at my schedule like, oh, when is a stat holiday? Because stat holiday, you get paid extra and the coins just drop. Okay, like when I got to hear about this, I was like, yo, that's so cool. Like, you're getting paid like $10 more or so, like a time and a half. You times whatever you make per hour times 1.5, and that's your pay for that day. Okay, obviously there's some requirements that you need to meet up, like you must have been working in a company for more than a month, you must have worked for about 15 days in that month. Like, there are a few things, but usually most people meet up the requirements for getting stat pay. So doesn't that sound exciting? It does to me. All right, so the third thing on the list is seniority hours. Okay, so this depends on the kind of organization you're in. If you're in an organization that has that is unionized, basically you're in a union and then the union represents the employees, there's something called seniority hours, and that basically means the more you work in that company, the more seniority you have. Okay, so let me explain this a little bit more. So for example, one time at my workplace, I applied for a job, right? Like, I applied for a position in that same company, because where I work, you can apply maybe if there is a managerial position that opens up, you can apply for that. Okay, so I went for the interview for that position, and 2 days later I got called up by the HR manager, and she was like, hey Chisom, like, I'm really sorry, like, you did really well in the interview, but a colleague of yours who has more seniority hours than you also applied for the position, and she is going to get that position because she has more seniority than me. Basically, she has worked more hours than I have. So it's not really about when you first join the company, because sometimes someone might join a company and they don't work as much, or they take a lot of leave and they're not accumulating hours, right? So basically, that other person had more hours than I did at that point, so she got the job instead of me. All right, so seniority hours in certain organizations, in unions, if you have a union, yeah, that trumps everything. Like, the person with the highest seniority would get like a position, like I said, before you. Okay, or if anyone has to be laid off, the people with the seniority hours are high ranking than any other person. Basically, that's what that is. So the next on my list is your time. Okay, your time is precious, your time matters. Okay, so listen, no matter, like, anything you do for the company is paid. Basically, staff meetings are paid for. Even if you have a 1 hour staff meeting in BC, you have, even if it's a 30-minute meeting, you have to pay for 2 hours. So basically, your time counts. You're not going to do anything and not get paid for it. If you spend a few more minutes or an hour at work, you get paid for that extra time that you're there for. There's overtime pay. Like, your time is so precious. Just know that if you spend your time here, you're getting paid for that hour regardless. Okay, so time is very precious, and you get paid for your time, which is what I really like. Okay, I just know that no one is going to waste my time, or no one is going to make use of my hours and not pay me. Like, you get paid for every minute you spend at your workplace. At least that's if you're on a shift-based kind of work. Which brings me to the next topic, which is terminologies. Now, coming to Canada, I realized that there are different terminologies and different kinds of jobs. So for example, we have full-time, we have part-time, we have casuals. Okay, so full-time are people who work anything from above 35 hours per week. Part-timers work like 20 to 25 hours per week, and casual workers are people who pick up shifts. So for example, if a full-time staff calls in sick and can't come into work, the managers would call the casual staff. So casual staffs are basically people who are on standby to pick up shifts. Like you could get called 5 hours or 4 hours before the shifts, for example, like, okay, there's a shift available, are you able to pick this up right now? So those are casual staffs. So I had to get used to those terminologies, and you have to know your place. What kind of employee are you? Are you a full-time staff? Are you a part-time staff? Are you a casual staff? Are you a contractor? Okay, and there are different rules for different types of employees. Okay, so know where you stand in the company. And then that brings me to the next point, which is shifts. Okay, so if you're one that you work in a company where you get paid annually, your pay is like stable. Basically, you know that you're getting paid $70,000 per year, and that's divided by 12. That's not part of this. Okay, so shift-based work basically is the type of job that we as students do part-time and stuff. So you can work either 8 hours, you can work 12 hours. There's some jobs that are actually 24 hours. Basically, you are there for 24 good hours, and then usually those kinds of jobs are maybe overnight sleeping jobs that you can sleep during the night as well if you want, but not all of them are like that. Okay, so I had to learn that. Like, that's surprising coming from a place where almost everyone works 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, and here, like, you can pick your shifts. You can either work a morning shift, afternoon or night shift. It could either be 8 hours, it could be 12 hours, or 24 hours, depending on the organization that you work in. So that was pretty new for me, and I had to get used to that. So yeah. And the next on my list is gender. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say here is you have to be cautious and be aware of the gender of your colleagues or clients or customers or people that you work with, basically. All right, so don't just assume a person's gender. Just because a person looks like a male doesn't mean they identify as a male or as a female or whatever. Okay, so basically beware. Don't assume. If as much as possible, try not to use pronouns like he, she. Try to make use of pronouns like they, them most of the time if you're not sure of the gender. So until a person tells you what their gender is, don't just jump on it and say, oh, he's a man or she's a girl. Okay, just refer to them as they or them, because people identify with different genders or none. All right, so just beware of that. Okay, I know it can be tricky, because it's so easy to say, oh, she, because she looks like a girl, but she might not, or they rather. You see, I caught myself there. They might not identify as a female or as a male. So try to stick to neutral terms when referring to people. Okay, and then finally, you know what? Just stay away from work politics. Stay away from work politics, because every organization, like, it's not new. Every organization have the politics and things that might not necessarily sit down well with you, or you might have issues with coworkers. Just avoid work politics as much as you can, just so you're not having issues with everybody. Okay, just tread carefully. Obviously, I'm not saying don't voice your opinions. Absolutely voice your opinions. Never feel suppressed, never feel like you can't speak up whenever possible. But I would also advise just avoid the work politics, because if you're too invested in work politics, you would get tired, you get annoyed, you might not want to be working because there's so many things that you can easily pick on. Try to demarcate your work and your life. Have a good work-life balance so things don't get complicated. That's it for the video, guys. I am so happy to bring these things to you. I definitely know that I have more on my list. Like, there's so many things I could talk about, but I don't want to bombard you guys so much in one video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you video. Bye.